100 years old if I make it, which is questionable. And I was asked to do this interview, which is kind of unusual. I'm going to hold something up here. Can you all read this? You all got a copy of this?
Yes, sir.
Everybody read it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. In 1972, long before any of you were born, I started to work for the company that's going to be doing this job today. My wife and I had moved over from Seattle. I was working there as an engineer, and I went to work for Heidi and Cook, the name that you see on this piece of paper. And I thought it's kind of a coincidence. 1972, I went to work for the same company that's going to be coming into my room today. Now, some of you obviously don't think that's kind of significant, but I do. 1970, well, I think it was it was 1972 that I started to work for this company that will be in this room looking at things today. I'll take any questions you have, but talk slow, please, so I can understand. And
Hi, John. It's Michael and Mrs. Can you tell us more about what Hide and Cook is for?
well, let me say this, Michael. I will answer any questions. And some questions I'll say, that's a good question. Next question, please. When I don't feel comfortable trying to answer your question.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, but that won't be very often, I promise that. I'll pretty much handle most of the questions. So anytime you want to start, we'll start.
So John, do you want to tell us about your career? Because you're a retired pilot.
Well, I'm really a retired businessman. I flew because I like to fly. I enjoy flying very, very, very much. I flew gliders and taught Civil Air Patrol cadets, and I enjoyed that probably more than anything I did. And I was in World War II as a flight engineer. I've been shot at. Somebody asked me yesterday how many times, and I said, I can't remember because it was a lot of times. And we flew bombing raids into Germany. And then some of you, well, probably none of you have heard of the OSS. Well, they were the Secret Service or secret group before the CIA. Now, maybe you can relate to the CIA. They have spies and they do things like that. I flew for them also. And I've been married. My wife passed away a few weeks ago. And we've been married 2 weeks short of 75 years. Now I see some of these ladies smiling, thinking that's great. It is. It is. I've had a fabulous life. People think that if you make a lot of money, you have a fabulous life. And I take it from somebody who's lived a long time. That's really not true. I know a lot of guys with a lot of money who are really unhappy. I did both, and we had just a really successful marriage. My wife passed away in October. Like I said, 2 weeks short of our 75th wedding anniversary. And I'd do it all over again. Okay.
Hey, John.
Question.
Yeah, give us some words of wisdom for business. You know, we have a lot of young leaders in our organization, and I think they
Okay.
need some words of wisdom from a wise businessman like yourself.
Okay. For 7 years, I volunteered at the Salvation Army, working with recovering addicts and alcoholics. And I had a man come in once and say he wanted to own his own business. And I said, well, why would you want to own your own business? And he said, well, so I could have long weekends and long vacations. And I told him, well, you better start thinking a little differently because I worked weekends and holidays and every day, many, many times. Success comes by working at it. Now, some people get it handed to them and they lose it and they wonder what happened. We started out with nothing. My wife and I were never on welfare or anything like that. My family was as I was growing up. And anything we did, we funded ourselves. You waving at me, Mike? Michael, can you
Oh,
hear me?
sorry, I was explaining something. I was just I meant this.
Okay, we're
Jump.
okay to go.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay.
Okay, all right. I've owned 3 or 4 businesses. I started them from scratch, and other people financed it, but they gave me a 25% ownership of the company and paid me a nice salary to start a company for. And if you want to start a company, you're going to work harder, I did work harder than I ever did working for somebody else. And I worked hard for whoever I worked for. I did the very best I could. And I was usually a success. And enter, if you're trying to get into business for yourself, take a long look at it. Recognize the fact that you're going to have to work very, very hard at it. And you can have a very, very successful career. I did. And I had several jobs. And I had several companies that I owned part of. And like I said, couldn't have been better life. I know it's pretty short now. I really don't expect to hit 100, but that's a good goal to go after. There are opportunities galore out in this business world that I see. Many, many opportunities. And so all of you are young and energetic, and the opportunities are great. Just start looking around, use your imagination, run it by in your mind. What could I do if I ran this business? Or what could I do if I started this business? Everything that I started from scratch. There was nothing like it in the city. When I started this company in Sacramento, there was nothing close to it except San Francisco. And that was really good. When I started this company here in Honolulu, there was nothing like it in the South Pacific. There was nothing like it anywhere. I don't know if it's still there, but there was a similar company based upon our company in Hong Kong that I dealt with, called Bath Interiors. Some of you a bit older people might remember back a few years down in Kapiolani, across from Alamona Shopping Center, there was a bath shop. We had a red bathtub in the window on gold legs with gold faucets and India silk shower curtains. We had faucets for $5,000. we had black bidets. Now, those of you that don't know what a bidet is, look it up on Google. And we sold a lot of them. And nobody else was doing that in the state, well, I said in the whole Pacific region. And we started from scratch. And my wife and I designed a showroom. Oh, this is a little something thing you might be interested in. We designed a showroom, and June Jones, some of you remember that, know the name. June Jones was then the quarterback for the University of Hawaii. And he came to work for us. And he helped design our showroom. Now that's kind of a little oddity that doesn't happen too often. So I've known June Jones since since 73. Nice guy. Okay, another question, 8th question. Come on.
Come on.
How many,
Oh, I
John,
forgot.
how many of the businesses you helped finance? Because you were owner of 25%. How many of those were not successful?
I'm having a little trouble with this volume.
Hold on.
You're
I'll
asking
repeat.
me, you're asking me about the ones that were not successful?
Correct.
Oh yeah, I was fired in a number of jobs, but that was great. I was fired when I came to Hawaii. I was the only engineer in this company in Seattle that had gotten a raise. And they came in and fired me one day. So I asked my wife, I said, would you like to go to Hawaii for a few days? And she said, certainly. And so we packed our things and came to Hawaii. Well, there was a building boom going on at that time, a lot of high rises. But guess what they were short of? Toilets. They couldn't sell their units because they didn't have toilets for them.
Supply and demand.
If you don't have them, you really need them. And so I sold 2 containers of toilets without even making a sales call. I just made a telephone call. I said, you want to buy a container full of toilets? And I said, so I'll take them. And opportunities come that you will never guess what would show up. But we had an honest company. I'm an honest man. I ran an honest company. I always have. And people knew they could deal with me, and I'll be honest with them. Would I make money on it? Bet your life. That's the business I was in. And I've sold casing down in the South Pacific that was used in one of the islands. Now, you probably don't understand what casing is, but it's big pipe. It's a big pipe, and a lot of money. There are just, I can't say this more emphatically. I wish I could. The opportunities are just unbelievable out there. Can you do something better than you see somebody doing it now? There's an opportunity. Can you see somebody doing something with good things and doing it poorly? There's an opportunity. Are you willing to work on the weekends to complete a job? If you are, a lot of people aren't. The opportunities are just endless. Did I start another business? Yeah, but it's a little late in life for me to be starting businesses. And I'm here recovering from a broken hip. And the recovery is slow, so I'm not walking all that well. But there are just, I'm repeating myself, I won't do it again, I promise. The opportunities are endless. just start looking around.
Yeah.
I almost started a coffee business before Starbucks did.
Wow.
Really. My
Oh,
wife
wow.
and I had been in Germany. We went to a little coffee shop in the Cologne railroad station that was just really great. And I thought, gee, this would go good in Seattle. So I went back, we went back, Barbara and I went back to Seattle, and I sat down and I worked it all out on paper. And I was designing air conditioning for See's Candy out at one of the shopping centers. And I looked around,
Yeah.
but to rent a place, but I didn't have enough money to get it started. So if I'd had enough money, you would have had coffee this morning, maybe a Gleason's coffee,
Well, I like the sound of that. Gleason's
because I
coffee.
was ahead of Starbucks. Go ahead. Who's next? Now, I don't want you to think that these stories are a bunch of baloney, because they're not. They're factual. They happened. They happened to my wife and I, and that's the end of that. You can probably go into Google and find Bath Interiors, BATH Interiors. But golly, I finally sold it to, I don't know if anybody knows who Don Ho was, but I sold it to Don Ho's sister for $10.
For $10. You sold your company for $10?
Yes, accounts receivable balanced out with accounts payable, so it was a paying situation. And had she bought it, and her husband had some difficulties, and we won't get into that.
That's awesome. It's a great give back. Where
But
do you,
see, I sold that company, then I went to work for another company as a vice president on a commission and made a lot of money, and that's when we started our last company. I was 57. For some of you a little older than others,
Hey now.
I was 57 when I started our last company, and we ran it for 15 years and then retired from our own company. I have no retirement from any company. We made the money and we're living on it now. So if you're a little older than some others, hey, don't worry about it. I was 57. People said, you okay? Is that a fire alarm?
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Uh, I was told I couldn't make it. Oh, you can't make it. You're too old, and you can't exert the effort that it takes. Well, I fooled them, because in a couple of years I was doing better than they were. So it's doable.
Yeah. What
And
was
we're
your
going
last
back to
company?
that. We're going back to that opportunity thing. There are unlimited opportunities.
What was the last company you started, John, for 15 years?
Oh, the last company I started was John Gleeson Limited. As the manufacturer's rep, I was working in thermal engineering with the refineries, the sugar mills, the power companies. It was all thermal engineering, based upon how many BTUs. That's the heat that you can get from a barrel of fuel oil.
You're a pretty smart man.
Say again.
I said you're a pretty smart man. You go from selling toilets to flying
no.
airplanes to
No,
thermal
no,
engineering.
no, I've never considered myself a smart man. I just consider myself a hard worker. And I always was. I worked as hard if I was working for somebody else as I did myself, because I felt that was fair.
That's the key, right?
But we lived on, golly, I can't remember the last 30 years of our life, we either worked on a commission or owned a company and was making money by the company. So I've had a long career of running companies. And like I say, I could start a company today. I could look around here and within a couple of weeks, I could see something that I could get into and do a better job than whoever has it is doing.
Yeah.
And as soon as you develop that, that mental position and you know you can do it, well, then start looking.
Yeah. Takes tenacity, right? It takes some tenacity to do that. Not everybody has that.
Oh, there's no question about that. There are people who can run their own business and there are people who need to work in the business. You'll have to decide that for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We invested all of our money, the money we had, the last business, John Gleeson Limited. We started out and Barbara and I looked at our finances. We figured we had a year backup finances. And if we didn't make it in a year, well, we probably weren't going to make it. Well, we made it in a year. And so we went on from there. But sometimes it gets very nervous. You're thinking, I'm running out of money. Keep at it. But do something that you know more about than the rest of the public.
Yeah.
And I was in thermal engineering and there weren't many people that were involved in that at all.
Yeah. It's a specialty, right?
It was a specialty, absolutely, absolutely a specialty. I tell you these big companies I work with, and I worked with the Navy. I saved them a lot of money by changing a job that they had going, and it takes some thinking and initiative and tenacity. Who brought that up? That was a good one to bring up. Yes, tenacity is. You better have some. And you can't go down to the store and buy any. So if you got them, you got it. If you don't, work for somebody. Work for the government.
Yep. You have to be born with it. Tenacity isn't normally developed. It's something of a God-given talent, typically.
Okay, God-given talent. Well, I think we all have some. Some of us probably have more than others. We were just born that way. Like I said, my family was on welfare, and it didn't run in my family. And I don't know where it came from. It was God-given. There's no question about that.
I agree. So what advice do you have for us? What advice do you have for us at H.O.M.E as we run our business?
Well, I see unlimited opportunities here. I see the space you have that you can expand into, and it looks like you're starting to expand into some of it. I see some work going on. There's many people out there like me. I'm not as old as I am, but many people needing help. And I walk these halls. I walk a lot. I'm trying to strengthen my legs. I walk a lot, and I see some very sad situations, but I see it being addressed by these people here at H.O.M. There is so much needed along these lines. The careers here, I think, are opportunities that that people can come in and do something for somebody else. That's one of the things that my wife and I did. We took care of some kids in India and Africa, and we supported other people who had far less than we did. And that's a good point. Help out, help somebody. I admire these people here who are helping people who really need help. Well, that field is so big, I can't even imagine the size of that. And H.O.M. here is right in the middle of it. It looks to me like you're expanding, and I assume you are, and growing. And you're going to have growing pains. You do have growing pains, but work through it. We need you, guys like me and guys not quite as old as I am. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah. So what's the best advice you could give us here at H.O.M.E Liana?
Well, make your mind up if you're going to stay here and make a career of it. And if you and the growth is going to happen. You've got the facilities. You got work to do in the facilities. This idea of getting Heidi and Cook out here to balance the air conditioning. Balancing the air conditioning is making sure that each room has a certain number of air changes per hour. And they will come out and check the velocity of the air coming in the room. And when the Heidi and Cook guy comes out here, I'll say, I used to work for you in 1972. And here I am. So I think that's quite a coincidence.
That's pretty cool. Well, what are your last few words of wisdom for us?
Last two words, work hard. No matter if it's for yourself or for somebody else. Look for opportunities because there's a jillion of them out there. The opportunities are just unlimited. I can't expand any further on that. And they will be from here on out. Things are changing so fast. People like me, something like this. When I was in a business, we had slide rules. Now people don't even know what slide rules are. As engineers, we had slide rules. I had a slide rule on the desk where I drew air conditioning systems. I'll say this one more time. The opportunities are just really something else. Look around, find something you like and find something. If you're in a good career, stay in it. If you like it. I always liked my job. I always liked getting up and going to work. Now that's kind of weird, but I did. Want to work for myself or work for somebody else. And see if you can get a job where they'll pay you a commission. I always try to do that. And then I'd make very good money because I work harder than everybody else. See if you can do that for a while.
Yeah. That's some good info, John. We appreciate you so much for taking the time.
Well, I know it's very unusual to talk to somebody as old as I am. I've been around the world. I've been in probably every foreign country in the world. I've been shot at. I've jumped out of airplanes. I loved one lady, 75 years.
Yep. That's amazing.
And wonderful marriage. Had 3 daughters, all of them successful. One of them has passed away. Thank you for letting me speak to you.
You are welcome, Mr. John. You are such a blessing to us, and we are so honored to have you.
Now you're embarrassing me. Now you're embarrassing me.
And your
I'm just
hair
an old
looks
guy
so
that's been around
good.
a lot.
I love your haircut. I love your haircut. It looks so good.
Yeah, yeah, how do you like that? That
Yeah,
looks a lot better than when I came in here. Thank you very
yeah.
much for that.
Looking handsome.
Okay, guys. I
Okay,
see
have a
those thumbs up.
fantastic Friday. Aloha Friday.
I've got a guy I'm meeting now downstairs, so that worked out really good. Thank you for this opportunity.
Perfect.
I hope I said something worthwhile.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to you every Friday. So we'll talk to you next
Oh.
week.
Well, I've got enough stories to last for a while.
Okay. Enough stories for a lifetime.
I can tell you a story about dancing with a famous movie star lady.
Wonderful. We
And
can't
being
wait to
arrested.
hear about it.
Okay, see you later, guys. I don't know how to turn this thing off, so I guess I'll just fade away.
Okay. I'll let Jake Deneau come say hi to you. Help you out.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.